Hi, let's talk about my personal top 10 70s horror movies. Big emphasis on the word personal, so keep that in mind. This is my personal list, and your list is likely to look very different from mine. And without further ado, let's just get started. Number 10 goes to Rabid. I actually really enjoyed watching this film, which really surprised me. I'm very late to this film, like I only watched it for the first time like a couple years ago, and it is very divisive, I know. It's sitting at a 3.2 on Letterboxd, so wasn't really sure if I'd like it at all, but it is free to watch on loads of streaming services right now if you're interested, including Tubi, Pluto TV, Fandango, Plex. You can watch it on Prime Video with a subscription and so many more streaming apps. This film's aesthetics are on point though, and it encompasses everything I love in a 70s horror movie. This is a fairly low budget film as well, and it's a co-production between both Canada and the United States. And it's about a woman who undergoes a horrific motorcycle accident, and she has to go through surgery. However, she then develops a vampiric stinger in her armpit. Yeah, and not only that, but she also has the thirst for human blood. It's a very kooky film, very silly, very fun, with great aesthetics that I am so here for. This is the bottom half of the 10, okay? But yeah, these kind of films are absolutely my kind of guilty pleasure. Ah yes, Halloween. I don't think this needs much introduction. I'm sure you are all familiar with the film, but just in case, I'll give you a very brief rundown. So 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, Michael Myers escapes from his mental hospital and he is out for blood. This is a very sinister film, of course, as Michael Myers searches for his next victims and goes on an insane killing spree. It is fantastic. Halloween is one of my favourite horror movies from John Carpenter. Doesn't quite beat In the Mouth of Madness, okay? I feel like that's a hot take. Is it? I don't know. Or The Thing though, which, yeah, that's a great film. Yeah, is that a hot take? Let me know. But yeah, I don't know. This movie is so fantastic. It sets us up in the very beginning of the movie for a great storyline, and it certainly delivers exactly that throughout. This movie it does the slasher genre so well, of course. And it is so intelligent, and the way it really builds tension is just phenomenal. It also has two of my favourite people in horror, Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis. Donald Pleasance's character from the beginning to end is absolutely amazing. He plays the part of Loomis, who is the primary protagonist of the film, and he plays his character absolutely perfectly. The end of this film is amazing, and it definitely has you wanting more, which obviously there are countless Halloween films. So I highly recommend checking out Halloween if you somehow haven't already, but I feel like a lot of people have obviously already seen this one. The 8th movie on my list is The Exorcist. So I watched this movie for the first time way back, but I rewatched it again like 3 years ago, and because like I wanted it more fresh in my mind. And yeah, this is a very clever film, which I'm sure has some deeper messaging if you look into it. It will have you asking a lot of questions, and it is genuinely shocking and even disgusting at times. And all of this just really works in favor of making an amazing film, and it's just very disturbing, and I think it has a lot of meaningful value, as I said. But yeah, it is actually a pretty dark movie, and it's definitely worth the watch because it can be genuinely shocking, and I think it's a pretty essential horror watch, of course. Like Halloween, I'd be surprised if there are many people watching this who haven't watched it. If you haven't, somehow check it out. But The Exorcist is definitely full of intense visceral horror, but this next one takes a much more sci-fi action kind of route, and that's the 1979 Alien. Set on a spaceship, it intercepts a distress signal from a distant planet, and the spaceship's crew discover a chamber containing thousands of eggs, with one of them containing a creature which attacks one of the explorers. The crew is, however, completely unaware of just how much danger they're in, as the alien parasite planted itself inside of its host, However, to the rest of the crew, he seems absolutely fine, as he awakens from his coma after the alien detaches from him, and he appears to be okay. Or that is until he suddenly begins to choke during a crew meal. Alien does sci-fi horror best. It is quiet when it needs to be, and it builds tension immaculately. It is a must-watch for anyone a fan of the horror genre. Number 6 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, another very divisive film. It holds a 3.8 rating on Letterboxd, but I just love how fun, creepy, and iconic it is. It's just good stuff all around. The main piece of backlash about this film that I hear is that it does have quite a lot of violence against women, and I do totally understand that, but unfortunately a lot of 70s films did tend to be like this, and whilst I don't think it's right, like if we're gonna have such violent scenes towards women, why not the men too? Or at least, like, you know, have them being as equally as violent, you know? But I actually don't think this film is as exploitative as people make it out to be. I don't know, like, you guys have to let me know what you think. But yeah, I guess that's kind of a touchy subject. So moving on, the atmosphere of this film, absolutely phenomenal. Leatherface and the rest of the murderers are so deranged, and I absolutely love the fact that this film is set in daylight as well. This film has really held up well, even to this day, so long after its release, of course. And I think it's because the plot is so simple yet effective, and the sets are just top tier. Multiple Maniacs, a classic piece of bizarre, queer 70s horror. I think it is, in my opinion, one of John Waters' greatest films. Now, this one definitely isn't scary, like other films on this list are, but Multiple Maniacs' story, its performances, yeah, Multiple Maniacs is where it's at. This film is about a traveling freak show who acts as the front for Divine, who is out for blood after discovering her lover's affair. This film is utterly insane and hilariously strange. Definitely not one for everyone, and a bit less of a classic pick like the others that I've discussed so far, but yeah, love this film. Next one, and it's bleak, The Wicker Man, which is about a police sergeant, Neil, who is called to an island village in search of a missing girl who the locals claim never existed. However, this investigation only becomes all the more complicated when Neil's religious views clash with the island residents. This was an award-winning film for so many reasons, and the ending we all know and love is absolutely insane. I wouldn't really say that it's too much of a spoiler, like it's kind of the name of the film and part of the film poster too. But yeah, the huge burning Wicker Man is genuinely incredible and just iconic. The atmosphere of the island is incredibly suffocating, and everything going on there just feels so off, which makes for a very tense film. And it is so peculiar that literally no one there wants to admit that they knew the missing girl, essentially just denying her existence altogether, until Neil finds evidence of the girl's name in the school register and is finally directed to her grave. However, when he looks inside of it, he doesn't find her body at all, and instead he only discovers the body of a hare. And this is where he learns that human sacrifices have been offered up to the gods in the event of a crop failure on the island. And so he concludes that this missing girl must still be alive somewhere and will soon be sacrificed for this exact cause. This film has a very realistic tone to it, and I actually didn't even get around to watching this one until I watched it in a screening at uni, and I think everyone really enjoyed it, and I know the majority of audiences for this film very much like this film, and the director, Robin Hardy, truly depicted one of the best endings of a horror movie, with the Wicker Man being burnt down. And so, coming in at number 3, we're gonna have one of the films that I've loved literally since I was a kid, with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, to be very clear, this film is by no means perfect, like all of the other movies that I've discussed up until this point, but I just love all of the characters in this film. The side characters are amazing, and I wouldn't be able to do any of them justice by just simply trying to explain them to you, so just go watch this movie for yourself if you haven't already. This film is quite literally the opposite of bland and the reason as to why I've ranked this one number 3 is because the Rocky Horror Picture Show is truly such a unique film. The narrative is so incredible, and the fandom that this film has garnered, even to this day, is just so cool to see. This is another very queer and over-the-top film, which is a comedy crossed over with a horror, and also crossed over with a musical. And I just always have such a blast watching it. Obviously, this one isn't scary, and instead it's just incredibly fun, incredibly quirky. It has some outlandishly bizarre moments as well. There's some really fun songs, it's a visual masterpiece, the costuming is just perfect, and the character of Frankenfurter is obviously very iconic to say the least. Look, I know this film isn't for everyone, but I love this film from the opening scene. It's really, really good, and the climax of the film is just phenomenal, and you really just never know what's going to happen next. If you guys would like to see a long form video about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, let me know, because there is so much that we can dive into with this one. The second act of the film is just completely off the rails, but it never strays so far that it falls apart. And the reveals and the things that we learn are so bizarre. I think it just has a solid story. The character arcs are so good. The characters themselves are so interesting. The side characters are great. And whilst this one is very much like a comedy horror, which definitely doesn't contain any scares, I don't think that's always a bad thing. And I don't always think that's what makes a good horror film. Like, I definitely don't just base good horror off of scares. I do have a soft spot for comedy horrors, I cannot lie. Especially one as unique as this, and I always just have a really, really good time with this movie. There's a lot of different subgenres of horror movies in this list. If you somehow don't know, this film is about a newly engaged couple, Brad and Janet, who encounter the scientist Frankenfurter's strange mansion, as well as a variety of very eccentric characters, and Frankenfurter reveals to them his new creation, which happens to be what he considers as the perfect man, who he named Rocky. This film's aesthetics are everything, and I'm yet to see anything else quite like it. And I always want to know more about the characters, because they are absolutely crazy and quirky and so interesting. It's just solid. I always have a really good time with this movie. It's not perfect, but I really do love it. I love the ending. I love Frankenfurter, and I love his character development throughout the film, and I just love him being him, and I've always loved this film, and yeah, I always have a good time with it, and it always makes me smile when I watch this movie, and I just think it's solid. Okay, Carrie from 1976. A very sensitive teenager named Carrie is bullied by her classmates, as well as being abused by her heavily religious mother. However, she begins to suspect that she has supernatural powers. Definitely one of the most classic 70s horror films, and to this day there is still so much buzz about this one. It has a 3.8 on Letterboxd, but I was still a little skeptical to check it out, because at the time, not so much now, but the time when I watched it, I was a little burned out from all the supernatural horror movies I've been watching, and I thought the first third was pretty good. Definitely met my expectations, of a typical supernatural horror film, especially the kind of stuff I was tired of. But after about half an hour, when we go into the second act, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I don't want to tell you too many spoilers, but the film very much just gets better and better as it goes on, and it just becomes amazing. It absolutely spectacular. So honestly, heart-wrenching and exciting. It is true classic horror cinema where you really feel for the characters, especially Carrie, of course. And yeah, massive props to the director for making something so awesome. This is honestly one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it's one of those films that really captures the exact reason why I love cinema. I love the character of Carrie so much. The cinematography is incredible and just so amazingly well done. This is completely different from everything else on the list in several different ways, but I love this movie. I think it is so good. It just deserves to be here, even if some people might disagree with this pick. And at number 1, we have Jaws, the 1975 horror movie that completely stole my heart. Directed by Steven Spielberg, It stars Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss, in which the seaside community of Amity is repeatedly attacked by a great white shark. Holy... So I first saw this film when I was very young, and this movie is just so incredible. It is easily one of my favorite films ever, and I have rewatched this film countless times to the point where I could literally recite the film line for line. Like, honestly, this is my #1 comfort movie. If you haven't watched this film for some reason, then please just watch it. It's incredible, like, I promise you. And yeah, I beg of you, watch this film, please. I absolutely love practical effects, and I also love animatronics. So this film is like my dream come true, because oh my god, like, I'm low-key obsessed with that shark animatronic. Like, he's iconic, and it's so impressive and incredible, and I just love it. I love seeing the shark. Like, it's so cool. I don't know. It's fun, it's scary, it's funny, it's just everything I love. All of the characters are amazing, all of the dialogue is so clever, and every single moment of this film is exciting. It certainly isn't terrifying by any means, but like, that literally doesn't matter to me, as I explained earlier. I just love how clever every little detail of this film is, and it has such a special place in my heart, and I will love it forever. Incredible, incredible, incredible. I don't even need to say anymore, just watch it. I don't care if you've already watched it a million times or if you've never watched it before, just watch it. It will make me happy, and you should see it again, or for the first time. So that's the end of my top 10 70s horror movies. Let me know what's your top 10. Make sure you stick around, because the next part of my disturbing movie iceberg will be coming out very, very soon. And also, let me know if you want me to cover any other topics, because there are plenty of other horror or disturbing movie topics that I'd love to cover. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.